Is your name Ryan John Hart?
Could you spell the name for me, sir?
No, I can't.
Well, then I can't speak to whether Ryan John Hart is here or
Court's
not.
calling the matter of People versus Ryan John Hart. This is file 24-4935FH.
Your Honor, Ryan Ziegler on behalf of the people.
Thomas Seeger, here with on behalf of Mr. Hart.
So this case was called because I have it set for a hearing. I'm going to ask one more time whether or not there's a Ryan John Hart present. And if there is, I'll proceed in one fashion. If there's not, I'll proceed in another. Is there a Ryan John Hart present?
Your Honor, this is Ryan John of Family Hart, not Ryan John Hart constituency spelled all capitalized letters. I believe that's who you want.
I'm not intending to nor willing to engage in gamesmanship. I'm not going to have conversations with individuals who tell me how they identify, unless they identify by the name that they're called in the case that they were brought before me on. Mr. Hart has seemed to have no issue understanding what his name was or responding to it in the very many hearings we've had, including one that I had, as I recall, last Thursday or Friday on a competency report. But now he's seeming to have difficulty identifying himself, and the court doesn't deal with difficult individuals. Instead, the court calls a case. If the individual is present, I have a hearing. If the individual is not present, I don't have a hearing. This, of course, relates fundamentally to an issue which you brought up last week, and I told you to file a written motion, Mr. Seeger, and you did. You have it set apparently for the beginning of March, and that is on a request to have self-representation. That request for self-representation, of course, is subject to various rules, requirements, and constitutional principles. One of which, as you cite in your motion, that I'll determine on its merits in March, is that I must make a determination that a defendant who represents himself must not unduly inconvenience the court or the ability of the court to conduct its business. Clearly, Mr. Hart is not even willing to acknowledge his name, which makes it impossible for me to conduct business if he doesn't have somebody with whom or through whom I can speak. So I'm not making a determination on merits yet. I'm not hearing anything further on this case other than a statement from the attorneys if they would wish to offer one. Otherwise, I'm just going to determine the issue in the motion that's set for March when it's properly noticed outside of if the attorneys have comment right now. Mr. Ziegler, did you wish to be heard on anything the court said so far?
No, Your Honor.
Did you, Mr. Seeger?
No, sir.